Welcome to the weekly dose of Emuna for Shabbat Kodesh. Today we're going to talk about the 3 levels of holiness, of Kedusha that we go through every Shabbat Kodesh. The holiness of Shabbat is like a ladder with 3 rungs as we slowly climb from one level to the other throughout the entire Shabbat Kodesh. We're going to see here now soon how that actually occurs and how we're able to really feel the difference between the Friday night, the Shabbat morning, and the Shabbat lunch, the Suda Shlishit meals. The Shabbat prayers, if we pay attention to the way that we even pray in each one of the prayers, at night we recite the words Ata Kidashta. When in the morning we say Yismach Moshe, and in the afternoon we say Ata Echad. So from here we see, just from the text of the Amidah, the tefillah of the Amidah, that there is certainly a difference between the way that we approach every part of the Shabbat, dividing it into those 3 separate times of Shabbat Kodesh. So the Amidah itself will show us that actually at night, on Shabbos, we actually feel like we're going to extend ourselves to the first stage of a wedding, the Kiddushim, where the Chatan and the Kala, right? The Chatan gives the Kala a ring, and they're together. And that's why we say Ata Kidashta, which comes from the same root word as Kiddushin. On the other hand, Shabbat morning is like sort of the second stage of the wedding, where at that point we're well into the Simcha, and that's why we say Yismach Moshe, right? Yismach Moshe from the root word Simcha. And Shabbat afternoon, where we're in Mincha and the Suda Shlishit, that's considered and comparable to the idea of Yichud, when the couple is actually together and it's the first time where they're alone, and that's why we say in the Amidah, Ata Echad, comes from the same root word as Yichud. So here we see, actually the Tur comes down and brings the commentary, and we see that there are those 3 different phases in the idea of Shabbat Kodesh, in terms of the idea of marrying and connecting and bonding with HaKadosh Baruch Hu on Shabbat. But the Tur also comes to compare these 3 different times as the 3 Shabboses of history. There's the Shabbos of creation, there's the Shabbos of the giving of the Torah, and then there's the Shabbos of Mashiach. So Friday night, of course, corresponds to the Shabbos of creation, Shabbos morning, the giving of the Torah, and Shabbos afternoon, the time of the Mashiach. And so what we understand here is that truly we go through different phases, levels of elevation that happen, that we go throughout Shabbat, and many times we're not even conscious of it. We're going to continue next week, Be'ezrat Hashem, to discuss also what is the emotional sense of what we're going through at every single meal, so we can tap better into it, Be'ezrat Hashem, and really be able to attain this intense relationship with Hashem and cherish the phases of more slowly getting more and more attached to Hashem throughout Shabbat Kodesh. So for now, let's just take it and understand that as we're going into Shabbat, we're actually starting off that phase of Kiddushin, that part where we're marrying our Chassan under the chuppah. And then Shabbat morning, we're actually entering a point where we're rejoicing in the wedding, being with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And the last part, the Suda Shlishit, we're actually in a place where we feel like we're in Yichud. We're really with oneness with Hashem. We've achieved that sense of closeness where it's only us face to face with Hashem. So Be'ezrat Hashem, let's keep that in mind this coming Shabbat, and let's have a wonderful Shabbat Kodesh.